This conference will now be recorded.
There you
I can send my minutes to the chief thing, to whoever's doing minutes, that way
go. Yeah, thanks.
I'll email it to you. You don't have to type all that out.
Yeah. It's all good.
And is there, you've already checked in with the Village Public Works and they just don't use the radio system, or do you need us to do any follow-up on that?
According to JJ, they don't have a radio system that they
Okay.
use, so he said eventually he'd like to get to that, but they're not set up to do it yet, and there's some costs associated to that, so.
Okay, nothing else. Is there an update on the consolidated fire agreement?
You guys got the follow-up from PAA, correct?
Yeah.
Trying to pull it up right now.
This would be your attorney.
I think what Dave's alluding to is that pieces of the study probably would inform the contract, the consolidated fire
Correct.
agreement, so I wonder if we couldn't talk about the fire survey first. Or is that what you mean when the fire survey was is the study? Is that what you mean on the agenda?
Fire survey is something separate.
Something different? Okay,
Yeah, that was from the chief.
got it. Okay, go ahead, David. Sorry.
Yeah, we were instructed by the attorneys to walk through the follow-up that PAA sent.
To inform the contract.
Correct.
So do we want that on the next agenda for discussion?
I guess we could, yeah. I guess just looking at the agenda, we could probably, is it not fit to talk about it today?
No.
Okay.
I'll put it on the next one for discussion. Okay. Discuss Cottage Grove Fire Survey, Fire Department classifications, and Attorney General opinion. Nick, you wanted that?
So we took the internal survey of the study of the staff. The health, the attorney general thing is. Dave and I had a conversation last week. Basically, one of the recommendations that PAA came up with in their study is that the fire department should be a municipal department at some point. Basically, when the department grows to a certain point where we're talking about needing full-time staff, the organization would, they're saying would be better fit to be a municipal department. So what we did is we actually surveyed our members right now and asked them how they felt about becoming a municipal department compared to staying as a 181. And then some questions kind of about fundraising, because that goes into, that kind of changes with the different classifications of fire departments, like they discussed. So currently, of the 32 people that responded, 27 said they'd like to remain a 181, and 5 said they'd like to become a municipal department. On the next question, we asked if they'd like to stay volunteer, 100% volunteer, or go to some kind of a paid on call, paid per call, or become a combination department with full-time staff / volunteers. To of that, 21% or 21 said they wanted to stay 100% volunteer with no pay. 5 said they'd like to go to a paid on call, paid per call. 6 said they'd like to become a combination department with full-time staff supported by paid on call or paid per call. I guess we can kind of go through it quick and then you have any questions about it, I can answer them. This next question was about bringing on new members. One of the recommendations that PAA said is that we should go away from the voting system and go to a hiring board. We asked the members if they'd like to continue to do the voting or go to a hiring board, as they said. And 24 out of the 32 said that they wanted to keep it with a voting system, with 8 saying they'd like to go to a hiring committee. Next question was, if the membership chose to become a municipal department, would you still like to conduct fundraisers for the department? Of them, 10 said that they'd like to continue all the same fundraisers and give the donations to the municipal department. 7 said they would continue some fundraisers and eliminate some others. And 15 said eliminate all fundraising. And then the last one was, if the membership chose to stay a 181 entity, are there any fundraisers you would like to eliminate? 2 said to get rid of the festival. Nobody said to get rid of the corned beef for some reason.
Maybe because it's good.
No, yeah, I guess.
Nice.
3 said to eliminate selling food at the home talent games. 1 said to eliminate all fundraisers, and 26 said to keep all fundraisers. Basically, we know that at some point, the workload is going to be too much for the volunteers, and it's going to eventually need to become something more. We're not naive enough to think that it won't ever be. But right now, we still have membership that are really committed to what we have, and we're making it work. Even in PAA's study, they, in general, felt we were doing a pretty good job of what we're doing. So I guess I just wanted to give you guys an opportunity to see what the staff said, as opposed to me just coming in here and saying, this is, this is actually them doing it. I didn't conduct the survey. Tried to stay out of it,
And I asked who did the survey.
So one of the other chiefs did it, and along with the survey was an email that described the two entities, what would be the difference between how they're organized and how the structure would be, and just left it with just the descriptions of what they were, and didn't really influence anybody. Didn't say like, it was basically set up to be as unbiased as possible, so people had the opportunity to just vote accordingly, anonymously, obviously, too. So.
I say good for you. Reflects good leadership to reach out and really understand what your people are thinking.
Any questions about this? You want to talk about the
Okay.
attorney general opinion and the other stuff?
Surprised.
If you would like me to, I think we wanted to,
Classifications-
I'm sorry, what?
Classifications next.
Yeah, so Nick wanted to, the department wanted to make sure that the municipalities understood how you were currently conducting your fire protection services, and that you were currently contracting with a 181. So the town is doing it through the contracting with a 181, and so is the village through state statute 61, through state statute 60. So we included those those state statutes. So you currently understood how you guys were doing your business with the fire department. And then how it works through state statute 213 also. And then we included the Attorney General opinion on how PAA kind of indicated in their study how there's this gray area. They talked about this gray area and confusions on how budgets work, and their concerns about 181s. And so we wanted to be clear too on the Attorney General opinion that they did not include the Attorney General opinion in their study, and we wanted to make sure you had access to it and the opportunity to read that that's not necessarily the case. when you read that Attorney General opinion, which is active today. It's an active Attorney General opinion. There hasn't been a new one issued. So it kind of clarifies that there is more black and white to a 181 in a municipal department that kind of separates those out. So we wanted to make sure you had access to that information in regards to how 181s work. So any questions on that?
I guess the other thing to talk about too is, the PAA study is obviously going to go into how you guys are dealing with your joint agreement when we have to start discussing that. And I guess we would, as a fire department, would like to say, like, if there's something that either municipality isn't getting out of the fire department that they currently would like, let us know. We've given concessions in the past for like the control of our budget. Technically, that doesn't have to be done within the 181, but we do because it's more transparent. We let you guys set the budget and approve all of our expenses. So same thing with the chief. If there's a discipline issue with the chief, you guys have the authority to remove them. Technically, that's not in a 181, but we've given that concession because you said we want to be as transparent and open with you guys as possible. So when you guys are drafting them, if there's something that you guys like that you don't currently have, it would help us if you brought it up and we can take it back to the board of directors and, you know, they've been willing to work with the agreement in the past, so I'm sure there would be some wiggle in there too, so.
I think that's what we were hoping to talk about tonight, but it's not on the agenda. Well, I thought the survey meant this study, so I'm sorry about that. But next time, because I think what PA went through, the mission values, I think we'll definitely need your guys' involvement in figuring those things out.
Absolutely. I think too, you know, the department, as you noticed, our annual report includes a lot of those things already. And not to speak for Nick or Jess or the department as a whole, as we try not to do, as you notice, we already incorporate a lot of those things, which hopefully your two municipalities will be able to benefit from and utilize. And we would hope that maybe you would receive our input on some of those things, and we would like to be involved in that if possible.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Okay. Any questions? Discuss and consider the use of ARPA funds for radio replacement.
I know we talked about this a few times. I know last time we talked about it, there was more information was put out that basically said that there's a lot more leniency to the ARPA funds now, and they could be used for that.
Yeah.
And I think last time we talked, everybody was kind of in favor of doing that, but I don't know if we can continue to pursue that. That's obviously got to be brought up at each board.
Right. I think the town, when we looked at what we could use those ARPA funds, because we're under the 10 million, we could use it for anything, and we're ready to use it for radios.
Yeah, when we talked about it, it was, we looked at it two different ways. One, if we could have used it for the radios, and then two, if we couldn't have, right? So I don't want to say it. We tentatively approved it for if we couldn't use it for the radios. But we didn't, as far as I remember, we didn't say like, this is definitively, we're going to use the funds for not radios. So I think it was all hinging on, can we use it for the radios? So I think it feels like to me, at least within the village, that we can definitively use it for the radio. So I think we just need to go back to the village and get it on the agenda and talk about it.
I think what would be helpful for us to represent it at the village meeting would be maybe like a memo or something that lays out the cost exactly, and how many radios and any other information. Maybe you already did that, and you can pull it from a different.
I did have it, but with how volatile everything is, I'll get it refreshed because
Okay.
I'm sure the prices aren't the same as they were.
Yeah, as much information, that you can provide, Please, I think from a high level though, the advocacy, when I'm hearing about potentially one of you all walking into a fire without a radio, that's a problem. You guys need radios. So, if you put, from the numbers, data, information, as much as you can give us would be helpful.
I think you want to include Deer Grove in that as well. Because if we're gonna update radios, you might as well update them all, or at least get a plan for 2 or 3 years.
You have to get that from Eric.
Yeah, he's on.
Eric's already on. he's on.
When I make those comments, that's not an indictment on you all. I know you're struggling, know what to bring forward at times, but to me, that's a non-negotiable, is your all safety. That really hit home when I heard that the last time you talked about it, Nick, that you got folks going in those fires potentially out without radios. That's a big deal.
I think my question is, in that memo, like if we could, I guess I'll just say this question. With what Deer Grove needs and what you guys need between the two ARPA funds, does that cover everything? Does that cover all the radio needs across the board?
Ours is significantly more expensive just because we have more radios.
Yeah.
They have the 3 ambulances, and I think they have one or 2 radios per unit. So I mean, they're looking at a lot less radios than we are. I don't know exactly the number. Maybe if Chief Lang's listening, he could probably chime in with what he has, but
Yeah, David, to answer your question, we would give you everything lock, stock, and barrel so that the initiative would be very similar to the AFG grant that we put in. And I guess that's our biggest question is, do you want to do this before AFG or do you want to wait for after AFG? What's the process that everyone wants to use?
When does the AFG grants happen?
Not until September sometime. It's late.
My understanding is that AFG is in peer review right now, and they're hoping to distribute the grants much sooner than they have in years past. In years past, it's been September.
We can certainly get everything all lined up, ready to go, and pull the trigger
After we get declined from the AFG grants.
So let's walk, best case scenario, we say yes to the ARPA funds, we buy the radios, and then we get the grant.
no.
The grant specifies.
You can't wait.
You can't replace.
No, you can't. So
like what we would do in that situation, we'd probably have, if you guys decided to buy them, like say at the next meeting.
yeah.
You would have to decline the AFG grant, or you'd have to buy 4 more radios, which then everybody would be able to have 2 radios.
You get a radio, you get a radio.
Together, I guess,
Okay.
Is there a max?
Yeah, our initial request was like $94,000 all told, but we've been forced to upgrade some radios since, so our request is going to be less than that.
Is there a max for what is it, ARG? AFG, is there a max request that it would make sense to purchase some radios? Because we know even if we got that grant, it wouldn't cover all of them, or would that grant cover all of them?
So we wrote it so that it would cover all of them. We wrote it so it would cover all of them in November of 2021, but
Prices have gone up.
everything's changed now, so I don't know what would come out. And we're kind of in a similar situation as Chief Lang. We did buy 2 mobiles already for the new engine. And then the last time we talked about it at the village board, there was some concern about not having enough radios, so we bought 2 portables with our leftovers. So we're down to like 38 portables and I think it's like 10 or 11 mobiles as opposed to the 13 we got 2 of them. So.
And I don't know anything about the grants to know the process and what makes a stronger application. Would it be a stronger application if the municipalities were to cost share, say, if we were to get the grant, the municipalities would pay for half if the grant would pay for half? That doesn't make it for much stronger.
I mean, I think, Eric, those grant applications offer like contributing funds sections, right? On AFG?
I'm not super familiar. I know we're going to probably have a little bit of a match on our end. We did put in for a hardship waiver because of budgets and community sizes. So those are all factors in what, at the end of the day, the grant costs. I guess the thing to consider would be, if we apply again, do we go about that, or do we just, or if we don't get awarded this time, do we apply again and do a cost share angle on it, or do we just handle it all? I mean, if we apply again and do a cost share, we're putting it out another year and still have an unknown.
I mean, we have the ARPA funds and we're willing to spend it for the radios.
Yeah.
And we've gone, this is the third time?
This is our third time, and if we can always go after something else with the AFG next year. It opens up AFG for something else next year for us to apply for.
I hate to tempt karma, but I'm just like, we got the funds, might as well pay for it. But then with my luck, we get the grant on the third time, on the third go around, so.
Well,
Third time's the charm.
I mean, we could maybe have both boards approve using the ARPA funds. And as soon as they hear from the grant, if we get it, fine, they don't need our ARPA funds, but if they don't get it, they can order the radios right away.
Maybe there's a way to do that. How you just said it.
Yeah, all hinges on the grant.
You know, it might be June rather than September.
Well, you have till 2026 to spend the funds, so I don't know why I'm in such a hurry.
Yeah.
Right, right. It's just the idea of the.
I think, for me, it's that not every position on the trucks has a radio today. So my mind tends to go to a negative place and think, okay, what's gonna happen between March and let's say September, October, November, like.
Who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
To me, that seems like the risk you've always been in. That's why it really bothers me that you guys don't.
I mean, that's a good question. So Paul and I have talked about this. We're not firefighters. So I mean, like, is it really not that big of a deal that every two people has a radio, that not every seat on the truck has a radio? Or like, is it in an ideal world, everybody'd have a radio?
So,
Well, let's say it another way. Did you not tell me that you've gone into fires without a radio?
so everyday normal incidents, your minor CO call, your traffic accidents, having one radio for a team really isn't that big of a deal. It's the structure fires, the large scale incidents, like we had that large brush fire in the town in Easter last year.
Yeah.
When you're in a wildland situation, you kind of get spread out from your teammate a little bit. So there would be a good one to have a disaster drill. It really comes down to what we're going into, but you never know what we're going into. And tomorrow, something really bad could happen. We would
Yeah.
need.
It could be like a box 5 fire, and it's a structure fire. You all have to go, and I guess
That's not worth the risk.
Yeah.
Me seeing you guys go into something like that.
I mean, large structure fires don't happen every day, but when they do, they're dangerous.
So
Yeah,
originally,
there's actually that happening. Mhm.
the code was, originally there was a proposal in the latest code update in SPS 330. It was proposed that it was going to be a requirement for every firefighter that was going interior to have an individual radio for themselves. It got pulled out in the code update and went to teams. So every team was going to have a radio. And that's what the requirement is that every team that goes interior has a radio. The reason it got pulled out, instead of it being every person, which was what was proposed, is what a lot of departments wanted, was because of the financial impact involved with radio replacement. And so because there was such a large financial impact to fire departments and to municipalities, the cost of radios and buying all those radios, when there was a code update, it was huge, that financial impact. But when you look at it from a safety standpoint, the safety standpoint of radios is also huge.
Yeah.
We know that that's it's a life safety issue.
Okay.
So ideally, when you ask ideally what's needed, I think radios for every person is ideal for every
You
person.
articulated it well. My mind, cost never supersedes the safety of you all walking into a fire with a radio.
Mhm. So should our plan be to take it to the two boards,
So that
ask them to approve using the ARPA funds depending on the results of the grant? And then as soon as we find out the status of that grant, either grant orders them or we order.
Can you include in your memo the information on the grant, just the timeline? Because is it September or June, or we don't know, or? I got
So in
it
a
wrong.
typical year, well, like Chief Lang said, in a typical year, they start handing it out in September.
Handing out the money?
And it's actually awarding
Okay.
in August, September time. The final round of them this year didn't come in until like December. We were still in the running in December, basically.
Okay.
So
And we've already submitted the grant for this year. I see. That's why my request wouldn't happen until next year if we cost shared. Got it. I thought we still could turn it in.
No, it was, I think it was submitted early January. That's when it was finally in and done.
Okay. I see.
Yep.
Thank you.
So
That's
he's
helpful.
saying that they were talking about distributing it early, but it's a federal program, so anything could happen with it, I guess, it could be early, it could be late. I don't know.
And so what would your recommendation be? To wait for the grant or to buy them now?
I guess from the history standpoint, the fact that we've been rejected twice on this grant, upon talking to other chiefs in the county, they said it's very, very, very difficult to get radios through this grant. It's not common for them to give that out, even if you truly need them. The last time we applied, where we just got denied in December, we had like 8 departments with us. So it was added a bunch of bonus points because it was a huge interoperability opportunity. And one of the entities was actually in Jefferson County, which they updated all their radio systems. So their stuff was obsolete. Like it wasn't just an upgrade, it had to be done for them. And we still got told no. So based on the fact that it's that rare, I don't know if there's really a benefit to waiting. Obviously free money is better if we can get it, but I don't know what waiting is going to really do, I guess, if it's going to make a difference. Plus with how volatile everything else is, by the time you wait, the cost of the radios could have gone up even more. I guess we're
Like it could be up to 9 months worth of them.
It's a
right.
deal, no deal situation.
Yeah, so I
You
would,
take the briefcase
I would
now,
say
you
we
can
just
figure it
order
out.
them now then.
Right.
Well, as long as we got the ARPA funds waiting. I mean, I would rather see us get them early and get them all.
Yeah.
Than not get them.
No
You
doubt.
know,
What was
face 9 months worth of increases.
what was lead time on the radios? Was it like 15 weeks, 16 weeks? I thought.
For as many as we're gonna have to order, he hasn't given me a lead time. But I bought the 2 mobiles for engine 3 in early December and I just got them last week.
It's probably a 3
Well,
months. or-
Here's what I was thinking. If we've got, because I don't know if I was talking with Chief Lang or if it was a sidebar comment with you guys earlier. I mean, back when we first started talking about this. But for some reason, 16 weeks sticks in my head, 4 months, okay?
Sure.
With potentially, like Chief Lang was saying, maybe June, okay, March, April, May, June. By the time we go ahead, meeting the boards, go ahead and discuss and get everything lined up to use our ARPA funds for the radios. Those guys could order the radios, and we don't have to write a check until the radios hit our hands. And maybe by that time, we, rather than waiting until the ARPA decision comes and then order the radios, we pick a time between now and when this is supposed to come through, get the radios ordered, and it's either the grant or us paying for them, if that's what both boards want to do.
Yeah, but like he said, this is the 3rd time through for this.
Well,
Odds are not not in our
It
favor.
does make sense. It is cash on delivery. So I mean, if you ordered them today, if it was 16 weeks, you'd be talking.
end of June, I mean, March, April, May, yeah, it'd be the end of
And
June.
then missing you, by that point, you should have an answer to the grant.
It could be.
Well, then there you go.
Potentially, Could be, it could be September, could be November. So we,
Eventually, we're gonna have to pull the trigger.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, like,
I'd
You
also,
pull the trigger and you pay it with the ARPA funds, and then you get the grant, you just have to turn the grant back in.
your SOL, yep.
But you'd wait for the village board and town board and other boards to vote.
Yeah, because it'll be a couple, 3 weeks before all it finally goes through all the channels and everything.
I
Then,
feel like the point, is you're
should
talking
put
still
us almost
4
into
months
June.
before you get these radios.
I mean, we're into
The very
July,
earliest.
Well, it's, I mean,
that's even better in our favor.
you can't account for the lead times. The lead times are lead times, but it's, I like what Steve is saying, is like, let's just order the radios and we can figure out how to, we don't have to figure out how to pay for them
Till you
tonight.
get them.
Right.
Order them next couple of days and you buy yourself 3-4 months to figure out how to pay for them. And do you get like a notice, like an email or a phone call when they're coming, so that,
No.
or they just show up and you gotta pay?
Last time they just showed up and then they're like, we need you to pick out your programming and we'll program them. That was,
Do you get 30-day invoice once they arrive?
so all those ones, I actually, yeah. For normal stuff, it's net 30. For those ones, we prepaid because we wanted to put it on last year's
Yeah.
budget, so we paid at the time of order or whatever. So that,
Okay, so yeah, order them, and then we get more than likely 30-day.
Wait until after the 2 board
Yeah,
meetings.
I would prefer to wait. till
Yeah.
after the board. We can get it on Mondays. next
Yeah,
Monday.
that's what I'm saying, like, we can, in the next couple of weeks, we can order them. It's
Yeah.
not something we have to do
Right, that's
tomorrow.
kind of what I was thinking, and that would put us middle of June toward July, so.
So what we'll need for Monday then, if you're gonna go with, are you gonna combine it with Deer Grove, you think? The
I
EMS?
think, I think because he's got to already figured out and I got to figure, we'll bring them both, but like, this will be separated out so you can see.
Great,
Yeah,
Yeah, if they could be itemized, that would be good.
yeah.
right.
Keep them separate because the dispersion is.
I know you brought them like a couple weeks ago, right? Or like 2 meetings ago, so it sounds like you have to tailor it a little bit.
Yeah, I just got to have them adjust the numbers for the ones we've already procured and then actually refresh the price because you said everything's changing so fast nowadays, so.
And check what the delivery time is. Yeah. So.
I guess I'd like to give one cautionary note is that we committed to a kind of a regional grant application with Deerfield Fire. So we need to kind of be cautious of what their interests in this grant are as well.
What do you mean?
Well, if you guys decline it, can they still accept it?
Probably not because the grant's actually written through our name, the fire department. We might,
We bought the radios, why would you still accept the funds to buy more radios?
so what he's saying is like, we did a regional grant, meaning like it was us, Deer Grove and Deerfield on this round.
Yeah.
The last time we did like 8 departments. So if you guys decided tomorrow to buy it with your own stuff, we bought them and then the grant was approved. We turned it down. Deerfield would have technically been entitled to get grant money because they were on our application. But if we turn it down, now they're gonna lose that funding too.
So what we could do is we could amend it, Eric. We could probably come up with an amendment because we signed an MOU, right? So we could amend it to a point, and I'm just thinking it, not fully 100% thinking it through, just kind of spitballing an idea, is we could amend it to a point where we turn it down, you turn it down, but Deerfield keeps it, buys their radios, makes their payment, because they're gonna probably have to pay a portion unless we did the hardship waiver with them too, and they fall under that hardship waiver, and allow them to still utilize the grant funds under our name. So we'll have to figure that all out if we end up being awarded it so that they can still utilize the grant through us. And then we'll just not utilize it. You'll not utilize it. And we'll be able to take in whatever they needed through.
And for me, I still have another community or 3 involved in this. So I guess we need to work through all of it. Maybe you guys can approve it for just Cottage Grove Fire. But I mean, I still have the village of Deerfield to work through for myself and options with the town of Deerfield and town of Pleasant Springs. I like what Chris suggested of, hey, let's order them, let's get the paperwork moving through, but let's not make any decisions till we're further down the road.
Right, and we still have the MOU. So we have to think about that MOU that we've signed in relation to the AFG and making sure we don't turn down the funds on behalf of everybody else involved in the MOU. So we'll have to think that through a little bit.
Yeah, so I mean, while we can get some things in motion, like David said and like Chris said, I think the in motion thing is get some radios on order, not commit to a way to pay for them, but wait till we can see some movement from either AFG positively or negatively, and then make decisions from there.
Somebody want to make a motion?
I move we go ahead and order the radios right away in order to save us on costs and everything else. And that we will pay for them with the ARPA funds once we receive them or with the grant money,
With the AFG
with the
grant.
AFG grant.
When you say right away, do you mean after the board's meeting?
After, I'm pretty sure our board is gonna, okay,
So
this,
contingent on
Yeah,
village
contingent
and
on
the town board approvals.
correct. That's my motion.
Okay, motion by Duplay. Second,
Second.
and we have a second to ask the two boards for approval tentatively to use ARPA funds to buy the radios, and if we don't get the AFG grant, but to order the radios
As soon as
as
possible.
soon as the two
As
boards
soon as the board approves.
approve the ARPA funds, if that's what it ends up being. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried, and you'll get us the update so that we can each have it on our 7th agenda.
Are you able to attend, Chief?
Yeah,
You okay?
I'll try to get to both of them.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
As long as we get the memo, I think we should.
Discuss and consider Squad 1 replacement.
So we talked last month about Squad 1's supposed to be replaced 2023. Normally, on a normal year, what we would do is we configuring it right now. And if it was approved, it would be around your guys' budget cycle, so you guys could write it into your budget. Basically, with what's going on in the fire market right now, the lead time on a new truck is 19 to 21 months. So we're actually looking, it'll be probably 2024 before the truck is actually delivered. So last meeting we had, it was suggested that we get a price and we should work on ordering it early because the prices are going to continue to go up. We've already been told by one of the manufacturers that there's more than likely another increase coming, they think in May. And it's going to be kind of significant again, like the last one was. So we presented two trucks. One was from Pierce, the other was from E1. Currently we have engine 4 currently a Pierce. The new engine that we just ordered is a Pierce, and the new tender that was ordered is a Pierce. The aerial device is a E1, so we do have E1 in the, we already have E1 in the fleet, so it's not like it's a completely new manufacturer. So we put together the two prices. Originally, we were looking at doing a commercial chassis squad, which would have been a little bit cheaper on the front end. But what we're finding is that that market is even more hostile than all the other ones in that they can't guarantee when the truck would even be built. Prices are only good for 7 to 10 days. So we went with a custom cab chassis, or a custom cab squad, which is a little bit more on the front end, but you can lock in the price and it won't change. It's guaranteed from the time you sign it till the time it's delivered. So I guess to kind of put it in perspective as what's going on in the fire service right now, engine 3's replacement was ordered at the end of 2020. That same truck, if you ordered it today, would be over $100,000 more expensive. The tender that was ordered in September, October. Just the chassis, the commercial chassis that's on it is over 40 grand more. That doesn't even include the rest of the truck. So our recommendation is to agree to purchase a truck early, get your name in the list because the lead times are so far out, and save yourself some of the increases that are coming along.
So you're recommending Reliant?
So the truck committee sat down on Saturday, went through the two proposals, and we took a vote on the two trucks, and the truck committee voted on the Pierce again, the Reliant, because that's what we've already ordered two of this year. So that's the truck committee's recommendation.
For 696, 863.
This is it's not a commercial chassis?
No, this is a custom built chassis.
Is this
Can you tell me more about, like, I'm just curious, maybe if this isn't the place, tell me, but I'm just curious, is it bigger or smaller than the existing one? Is it, how
Literally
different
the
is it?
exact same size. So the difference between a commercial chassis and a custom chassis. So what we have right now for a squad and our two tenders and engine 3 is a commercial chassis. What that is that currently it's a Peterbilt. It's a pre-built Peterbilt truck that they build a fire truck around. The new tender that was ordered is a Kenworth that they're going to build the truck around. We were going to go that route because they're typically cheaper. But like I said, with the hostility of the market, there was a time where when you were locked in with a commercial chassis, they would honor the price, which is what we have with the current tender. They're going to still honor that price. But going forward, they've all decided that even if you sign an agreement tomorrow, if the price increases on the chassis, it's getting pushed back onto the purchaser. So at the end of the agreement, say the commercial chassis goes up $50,000, they're going to issue a change order that you're going to be responsible for that extra $50,000. So because it's so hostile and the times even longer on a commercial chassis, the recommendation was to go with this custom chassis, which would be identical. The cab would be identical to the current engine that was ordered. That's part of the reason the truck committee decided to go with Pierce again, because it'll be the same truck, very similar truck. Obviously won't have a pump or a water tank in it, but the overall truck itself will be almost identical.
In those pictures you just sent us was of the chassis being built.
Of the new engine, yeah.
Did you guys, when you worked with the Reliant, I guess, did you tell them how you wanted the layout, or did that come later?
We kind of did. Squads are really hard to build. There's a million ways under the sun to build a squad.
It's a toolbox on wheels, so.
Ours that we currently have is considered a partial walk-in, meaning that the back compartment, you can walk into it and there's storage space. We opted out of doing a walk-in because you lose a lot of storage space and it adds significant amount of cost to it on top of it. So we built, once again, a rolling toolbox, but it's compartments all the way around as opposed to having a space where you walk into it. We're actually going to gain quite a bit of storage by doing that, and save some cost on it.
Will you have a tank filler?
What's that?
We have an O2 tank filler on the squad?
Yes, it's going to have a two bottle filler on the, regardless of which truck you went with, they both have the same 2 bottle filler in it.
Can I ask, in the quote on some of them, the one with from Reliant, there's some where it says the chassis price due would be $321,450. That's not in addition to the 600 and some thousand.
What they're saying is Reliant offers discounts based on early pay.
Yeah.
And the early pay would be like, there's an early pay where you could pay for the entire truck up front. There's an early pay where once the chassis is completed, you could pay. That's not, the body hasn't been built around it, but the chassis is built. And they're saying basically, that's how much it would be to pay, you would have to pay at the time to get the discount. You'd have to pay the 331, which would come off of the 698 or whatever.
I know the village won't have the money till 2023, so I don't think we'd be able to do any payment in 2022 yet for when, in looking at these options. It seems like the prepayment option with funds due Q2 April of 2023 seems
Oh,
reasonable.
you don't want to pay for it in 22?
No, we don't have the money in.
The two trucks that have been ordered so far, both of them you guys did cash on delivery. So
What's typically a life on a truck? What do we
Figure about
depreciate it, 20 years or?
So that's where we've been kind of going back and forth a little bit. This committee, we voted on doing 25 years.
25 years of depreciation.
Yep. We also talked about maybe lowering that to 20 because once we start getting into the 20s, we start seeing problems mechanically and getting parts. Like I said, we just put $10,000 into the ladder in the first 2 months of the year because it's just getting older,
Stuff breaks.
So you were saying that before we didn't do any of the prepayment options, we just wait to the very end.
Correct.
So what exactly do you need it from us tonight? Is this an approval to move forward to the board?
Yeah, so you
This
can,
would be, yeah, you guys would have to
Shared
approve it
with-
here and then each one of your boards would have to approve it. And
the last truck we did, we tentatively approved tentative barring any negative outcome from the board, our respective boards. Board pending approval.
Which of these pricing options are you thinking of bringing forward to your board? Or do you recommend that we do just the no prepayment discount option of the 696?
that's probably gonna be for you guys to pick how you want to do it because I know the town is gonna probably try to lump the three payments together for the three trucks.
That is probably a
So I'm guessing that,
like
there might be some kind of,
finances. Is that what you're
Yeah,
asking?
but the price
I
is
guess I don't want
different.
to talk to them. If you guys were looking, I know you guys just paid for your portion of the engine. Just asked me to get the price or the invoice for the tender in the beginning of the second quarter. So it's up to you guys when you want to pay for this one, if you wanted to lump it all together into a bond or what your plan was, I don't know. So
I'll write the check.
that's right.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So like if the base price and you
Right.
got
So I mean,
different pricing options.
Right. For us to bring it to the board, I'd like to be able to say this is the
The
price. So
recommendation.
which one of these, there's like 5 options.
696, 863, figuring on cash on delivery.
Okay, that's your recommendation.
He doesn't care how we pay for it.
Yeah.
He just wants to buy the truck. So it's up to each
So
board to
it-
determine how to pay for it.
One of us just has to win the lottery.
We have to figure that out.
Then we get naming rights.
Are you on that?
You gotta buy tickets. I do every now and again.
Only when I get the.
So the second option down on first page, 100% prepayment option with funds due Q2 or April of 2023, we get just shy of 14,000 discount.
Right.
Is that something we could do?
Well, the question is when do we get the truck?
None of the payment structures determine when we would get it.
Exactly.
The timeline is the same, but we would say 14,000 if we paid it in Q2 of April.
They're figuring right now 19 to 21 months from the time of signature.
That's well, the world could end in, next
Let's
couple
go
of
spend our
weeks,
money
right? So
before
like
the
it's, you have to go back to, this is where Ellers comes in, right? Are you better off keeping the money in the account and getting interest, or you
Yeah.
taking the discount?
That's why I mentioned earlier, I think we have to figure out how to finance this. If you're saying it's the you said 693?
696.
696, so we just need to know that, and then we go back to Ellers and say,
Even if you guys did the entire prepay upfront, the only savings you're gonna get is about 14 grand. I mean,
$27,000.
Let's see.
Yeah, that's the second from last.
no,
That's the
it
27.
would just be the 13. You wouldn't get both of the discounts. It would be just the 100% prepayment one.
Which is 27.
That's if we
Top of
prepaid
the
it right now.
Yeah.
This is pretty-
If you might not get the truck for 2 years.
Could use that 27 grand for a lot of other things.
Sure could.
So then we're asking our boards to approve the 696,863, no discount.
I mean, we could, yeah.
So Alex to figure out how we finance that.
You could make the motion so that you could leave the door open for prepayment. I don't know if,
I would be willing to prepay.
How much? Whole thing?
Yeah.
The
I'm gonna
second
borrow the
option,
money Regardless,
I guess you're right.
so I can tie it all,
Tie it all in.
the engine, the tanker, the squat, all into one.
so you're saying the Q2 of 2023 is what you'd be willing to do? Or you mean
I
prepaid
think I
all
just
right
heard
now?
prepay up now.
I would be willing to consider prepaying it all in 22 so that we get the $27,000 discount. But if that doesn't work for you guys, then I would look at maybe that
April of 23.
April of 23 making that payment.
Yeah, I don't think we can answer that. I think we give them this, and say the 696, and then
You want to make the motion so that you leave the door open, then we can come back next month. Right. We'll talk to the board and. I think how to word.
the discretion of our financing team.
I'm trying to
And
think how to make
the
this.
thing is that we both would have to agree on the same payment option.
Yeah.
So I know we plan on the expense in 2023, so I would feel somewhat confident in that. Second option?
April option.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to tonight be able to say, I mean, we
Yeah.
could bring it to the board for the full prepayment this year, but I don't know that that would, I don't feel as confident,
$14,000 off.
right?
Yeah.
But if that works for you guys as an option.
All right,
I mean, we're in it together, so, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of Squad 1 replacement pending approval of funds and prepayment schedule from the respective boards.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Just a quick clarification question. So when you guys are gonna each take it to your board and let's say it's approved by both boards next week, are you guys gonna come back together and re-vote on it? Or I'm just asking for a timeline for
It's a good
getting
question.
to lock in the
Why would we
price, I
re-vote
guess.
on it?
I don't think you need to re-vote on it.
We don't, because I just made the motion pending approval of funds and prepayment schedule from the respective boards. So the only way it would have to come back
Is if it.
is if
You-
we didn't want to prepay
We-
and you wanted to.
One.
Yeah.
As long as we both approve the same scenario, we wouldn't have to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why it'd be helpful if we propose the same.
Should that motion to be a not to exceed a certain amount?
Don't have any guarantee. You know, like you guys said, you know, it could be 22 or 24 months from now.
I mean, 696,
We have a guaranteed price in April of 23.
so it's your.
Okay.
It's just the prepayment.
Okay, so that motion passed.
Yes.
Yep.
Let's see, discuss and consider using Pleasant Springs funds to purchase first year of first due fire reporting software.
Okay, so a little bit of backstory on this. We've been using Firehouse software for our NIFRS reporting, which is our fire incidents, our training documentation, fire documents, basically the whole shebang for years, forever. We went Firehouse.
What's it? It's called Firehouse.
Firehouse, yep. They announced, well, they were bought out by a company called ESO a few years ago. And basically what happened is ESO is going to discontinue the Firehouse line and make their own product with their name on it called ESO. Problem is the price has gone up significantly. Like we're talking, like, they wouldn't even give me a quote because it's so bad, basically. So we're looking at coming up with a replacement product. That's what this first due is. It would take over for our NIFRS. We use a program called I'm Responding, which is telling people we're en route to the station for calls. It would replace that. It would basically do all of our software. The annual cost was got it in my packet.
$5,000
The annual cost is that
first year.
like 8,900, $9,000, and it goes up. First year would have been 8,900. Second year would have been 8,950, and then the third would have been 93.98. Because we told them what we were looking at for a budget for this first year, they're offering us a really significant discount of almost $4,000. So we would like to use Pleasant Springs funds, the 4950, to be the first year of this contract. And then we'll write this cost into our budget going forward in the 2023 budget, 2024 budget, so the 3-year agreement.
When is so this would start?
This would, when
Subscription
you
starts
start it, they're
February
gonna
23rd.
start building the database immediately, so.
So my question is how much overlap is there between Firehouse and First Due?
The rest of this year, basically.
Well, and I'd imagine that Firehouse will not give you a refund.
No. The cost of Firehouse is a lot cheaper than even this. Firehouse with our inspection program and all of our documentation, that was around $2,000 a year. But nobody really does it for that cheap anymore.
Yeah.
Firehouse is $1,900, and then when you add in, I Am Responding, I think that's $700 or $800. So it ends up being maybe 3,000. There's one more software product I think we use.
Firehouse is
And Firehouse was an annual subscription?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
then
it
Firehouse
started in,
There's 1,000.
and when was the anniversary date? So when did it start?
We make that payment, I want to say October or November. So Firehouse is actually going to sunset in December of 2022, and it'll no longer be supported. So we won't have access to support anymore after that. So if something goes wrong with the product, they're basically.
I guess what I'm getting at though is, because looking at in the packet, right, like your subscription would start, well, earlier this week.
25th.
Can you, you've got March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, so you have 10
Basically
months.
absorbing what 1,000. You said December, right?
Yeah.
It's about 10 months. I mean, it's just,
You said it was $1,900.
1,900 for the Firehouse software and then 800 for I Am Responding, so 27.
So you're out $1,500, $1,600 with fire,
Mhm.
with the old one.
Which we paid in October, I think.
paid early.
Can you get First Due to not start until July or?
That's what yeah. You hate to have redundant software that you paid for.
Yeah.
Right, the issue is they gotta build the database.
Yep.
So by the time the database is actually built and online, it's probably gonna be July or so. The reason they charge you right away is because they use their staff to build our database. We don't have to transfer all the stuff. We don't have to go back and get all the legacy data out. They'll do it all for us. So when it comes online, it's a finished product. We're ready to just use it right away. And we'd like to get it in place before the last week of the year, obviously, because we'd like to know how to use it before the old system
Right.
goes away. So I guess that's why we're looking at the timeline.
Well,
And then
you
it's
have,
due every January after that.
And you're signing up for a 3-year commitment too, and they've already included the price over the next 3 years.
Correct. You pay each year,
Year at a time.
year to time.
Annual subscription. It's a bummer when you've got software sitting on the shelf like that.
Right.
I get it, right? Like it takes time, like they're gonna provide their own services to,
Talking big dollars, do you have a way to absorb that $1,600?
Well, this year, we're not actually paying for it because the SAFER grant.
You're
The
not.
SAFER grant actually pays for our firehouse software.
Well,
So
then,
this year, we're paying $0 for any of that. So we're really not losing the money. The grant's gonna pay for it. And then next year, when this goes live, instead of issuing the grant payment to Firehouse, we'll issue it to First Due. So we'll take how much is it a year?
Yeah, so it'll be the $1,900 that we're using from the SAFER grant to pay for Firehouse right now. We have to write an amendment to SAFER and ask them to reissue the funds to First Due.
So really, it will be actually
89 minus 1,900. We'll probably still put it in the budget for 89, just in, because after the SAFER grant expires, it'll end up being 89 plus 5%, whatever year that is.
yeah, I'm comfortable with what I'm hearing. So motion to approve the Pleasant Spring funds to purchase the First Due fire reporting software.
Second.
Motion and a second. Use Pleasant Springs funds for the first year for fire reporting software for First Due. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in,
really quick, just
Yep.
one question I did have. I mean, if we didn't use the Pleasant Springs funds, what would we use?
we'd either have to shift
We'd have
around.
to come back to the
existing
two boards
budget,
and ask
or
for the
we'd have
money.
to Ask you guys for more, or just shift it around inside the budget. to try and make it work.
Thanks.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Update on removal of East Island in the parking lot.
Did you get anything back from Houston's? I got a price back from Snyder's.
Yeah,
Houston's never called me back or sent me anything. Snyder's price was 15 grand to remove the island. We just got the proposal today, so I'll actually read it to you.
I can call Houston's again. Do you recall who you talked to?
I don't, it was, I told them what we were looking to do. They transferred me over to their sales department, and he said he would come look at it and give me something, and he didn't.
Never came.
No,
I'll reach out to him tomorrow.
sure. So Snyder Scope says to remove and dispose of the following: the trees and bushes, redstone, curb and gutter, and sidewalk. 15,000 flat. They would remove the existing storm curb, existing basin, and install a new flat lid with slotted grate, excavation if needed, and then supply and place 4-inch asphalt. Their price is good till March 28th.
So we're gonna have a discussion, just consider, you just have to do some more follow-up. Is that what we're hearing?
Right.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Houston, so see why they didn't get back to it.
Who was the other? You had Houston.
Schneider?
Okay.
And Snyder Excavating.
SNYDER.
Okay. Update on bottle fill station.
So we wrote a grant last year for that. It was the Dennis Leary, or the Leary Foundation grant. We found out at the very end of the year that we did not receive that grant. we're gonna apply again. I do have an updated price on it. It's got that.
What's it gonna cost?
Current price is. Current price for the full system is $20,995. We're anticipating a 15% increase after March 1st.
Better order tonight.
So, like I said, the fire service is really bad right now. It's just, it's extremely hostile on everything, from prices and timelines and.
Inflation used to be once a year and 4%.
Every month.
There's stuff we ordered in November of last year, we just got, so it's crazy. Never seen anything like it. So,
Yeah, on the engine, they just ran the numbers while you guys were talking on the squad. If we waited till, the group waited till after the May 1st increase, you can add another $34,000 to $48,000 to the price we just gave you. Which is for a squad that's, we were a bit surprised, obviously. The truck that would have been $100,000 cheaper 2 years ago.
So is that something we want to consider funding this year, or do we want to push it off till next year and include it in the 23 budget, or what?
I think
It'd be a good capital item for next year.
that's what I thought, because we have the squad.
What was it on your capital budget list? What
I
you-
think it was-
do you
I think it
remember?
was 2023. So
Yeah,
I think our plan is to apply again for the Leary grant one more time.
Yeah.
Just because it doesn't hurt to apply for a
Yep.
grant.
Yeah,
And then I think we would be looking at, like you said, next year as part of the capital budget. We're not expecting you guys to come up with that.
okay.
in the
I
middle
don't know
of
if we
the
brought it up before, Nick, but do we have some form like asset management or master planning to capital items, like a 10, let's just say 10-year plan that we do here too, 2023, we got all these items and this is what we're anticipating.
We got it already. We have that, yep. We sent it out.
Yeah.
What was it, January
It was before January. It was
or
like
December?
the middle of last year, so we did a capital budget for the next.
Well, we have a capital budget, but in terms of, I think what Paul's asking is more around like consumable, everything from trucks to consumables, right? So we have the trucks, but you know, the radios we didn't necessarily have, the turnout gear, we had a rough idea, but like it's, like I couldn't go to my neighbor and say like, here's everything the fire department's gonna need to buy next year. You know, like
But taking us all the way out to
Yeah.
2032, saying these are the things that are gonna need to be replaced. You got an
You have that.
escalator on it. This is what the approximate cost is gonna be in 2032.
We do have that already. That already exists, but what Dave discussed with myself and the two assistant chiefs was coming up with like a kind of a formula, like, so in 2023, we don't just hit you with this big cost to replace all the radios, and then the next year we don't have anything, and then the next year we have a huge cost for turnout gear. I think he wanted to replace stuff more on like spread out the radios over a 5-year period, where every year you're figuring this amount of money for a fifth of the radios or something, and a tenth of the turnout gear, because turnout gear is good for 10 years. So like at the end of 10 years, all the gear has been replaced. You start replacing the stuff that was replaced 10 years ago again, right?
And they sent us this in 2022, what they want to replace in 2023, 25, 28.
Okay. Anything else? Got some consider next meeting date and agenda items. I think landfill's meeting on Thursday, the 24th of March. If we want to meet on that same day, fire. It's a Thursday,
Of what month, March?
March 24th.
It's a Thursday. Monday, 24th,
Yeah.
Thursday.
Yeah, that's landfill meeting,
Yeah,
the week after, and then spring break.
it conflicted with spring break.
The 24th works for me,
Yep, me too.
March 24th.
Anything else you want to put on the agenda?
Great. All I have in the notes right now is the discuss PAA follow-up.
Along with the consolidated fire agreement, right?
Yep.
And if you notice, I changed the heading on the agenda.
Did you?
I didn't notice. What did it say before?
It used to say just joint town village fire committee.
Fire district committee meeting. Yeah.
I added the word district.
Oh,
I get it.
got it.
Is there a motion for adjournment? Motion is second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
David, are you match to get the 2 agenda items on the village board?
I have the
We make this, keep typing up.